So we're continuing our summer series on the series of EOS, and I'm sitting here today with Bryan and Stephanie Neale of Blind Zebra. Welcome. We're actually sitting at the EOS conference. This happened back in April, but hey, that's cool.
It's awesome. Feels like June today, though, in Indianapolis, does it not?
Well, I've not been out. I'm stuck in a hotel room with you
great,
guys.
great.
So if we can hurry this thing up, I can get out and enjoy the weather.
You should, for sure.
All right. It's a privilege to have you guys both on here. When I met you both separately via Zoom, I'm like, this is going to be great. We're going to hit this thing off. And so it's nice to finally be sitting here face to face with you all.
Yeah, well done.
Same.
Well done.
So, all right. I don't know who wants to start here, but you guys have very interesting dynamics in lots of different spheres and the way you've worked together and all that kind of stuff. But tell us about your story and who wants to go first.
I'll go first.
So
we should define that. Well, we're visionary and integrator, and we weren't that before. We were husband and wife. And
so you're no longer husband and wife.
We are still husband and wife. Let me check. Yep, still here. Check the ring, still there. So I have been in sales coaching, sales training by myself, intentionally single shingle by myself for 20 years. I've always been in a coaching program. I was in Vistage for 11 years. I was then got a little tired of Vistage, just kind of run its course. I went to the strategic coach, spent 2 years at Coach. Got nudged by a little subgroup I was in to try to scale our business. Then went to Strategic Coach's Couples Connection. Strongly recommend anyone who, I know a lot of EOS people are in Strategic Coach. Went to there and said, hey, we want to do this together. We want to build, we want to scale this thing together. So did our 10-year vision. I included her coming to work with us. And then one day she called me crying. And I'm like, what? And when your wife calls you crying and they're just crying, your mind races. Like, did someone, like, what happened?
Yeah.
She said, I just got fired. And I was like, huh? We were a year ahead of our plan to work together. She was a VP of a tech company, and we had put this 3-year vision out, but we weren't there yet. It wasn't time for her to come work with us yet.
It was not.
And all of a sudden, we're like, there we are. So we're talking, kind of processing it. And, she's processing her emotions with substances and whatever else. No, I'm kidding. It's a joke. I'm kidding, babe. I'm teasing.
What kind of show is this?
Exactly. No, but then, look, let's do this.
Honest one.
Yeah,
It's an
100%.
honest one.
Vulnerability.
Okay?
Let's do it. So we decided to do it. And so I was then turned into the CEO, because it used to be just me now. And she was the chief revenue officer. She was going to go sell, and I was going to do my training. And then it wasn't working. And we're our second marriage, and we already screwed up our first marriages. We're like, this is not working. It just isn't clicking. We're fighting all the time. It's just awful. We're driving a family vacation, and we're driving up the road. And I said, why don't you be the CEO? I freaking hate it. I don't like leading people. I don't like being in charge. I just want to do my coaching, create new tools, and do that. And she's like, seriously? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay. So if you look at our financials over a 6-year period, you'll see them completely flat while I was the CEO. And then when Steph became the CEO, they've averaged about a 50% growth rate over the last 3 years. So we find that now we're in EOS, that this whole visionary integrator thing, right? People, right? See, we were doing it before we were even aware of EOS.
Yeah.
And kudos to her for being able to take Visionaries' vision and make it into something that's valuable now. So it's been really great. And we're still married.
Yay.
I know you just asked that 5 minutes ago, but yes, we are still married, and we're way happier.
You have to prove it by grabbing her legs.
Exactly.
I got it. That's why you wear a ring. That's why you wear rings.
Further appreciate it.
Yes. No, I think that it just lends additional credibility to what we all already know that are in the EOS community, that role definition and that getting really clear on what we are good at and what we do.
Yeah.
It changed the dynamics, because we agreed when we decided to run the business together that we were not going to let the business ruin our marriage. Like, that was very firm at the beginning, and the first few months, it was rough. But once we figured out the role dynamics, it allows us to operate in our lanes, for the most part, always, and really grow.
Where's the biggest conflict? No, let's go straight into it. Where's the biggest conflict now?
You want to go? You want me to go?
I'll go.
I don't mind. Okay,
I
go.
think
Steph, go.
it's probably the same, would be my guess. Biggest conflict is I am an executor, obviously, and he is the vision. And there's so much vision that comes, that in the past I had always had a buffer. So I was in that like VP seat.
Yep.
So I always had like I used to report up to the COO. He was my buffer between the visionary at that company and where I was, and he helped me translate what I needed to go do.
Yeah.
Now it's direct. So I've had to learn, and I'm not, this is a work in progress. And he's had to learn that when he comes with ideas, frame of mind matters, the type of the room that we're in, and if it's, when we're getting ready for the day at home versus in an L10, we've really had to figure out how to communicate about ideas. And I have to always think like, react neutrally at first, take it in. And then there's so much that's, the reason we have a company for me to help him scale is because of your vision. So that's been the biggest challenge for me.
You are, I think, a visionary too, are you not, Jonathan?
Yes.
So you'll get this. All of my ideas are awesome. They're every idea I have is amazing, and every one of them is possible, and everyone is really easy to execute. I don't know what the problem
5
is.
minutes.
Right.
It'll take 5 minutes.
So I don't know why there's even conflict ever.
Yeah.
And so therein lies the problem that I always feel when she's trying to make my idea practical as a visionary. I get my feelings hurt. I'm like, you don't like my idea.
Yeah.
Why are you crapping on my idea? Like, it's a great idea. Do you realize what this could be? And she's running it through the practicality filter. So we work hard. We put some systems in place. Some reactionary. So she works really hard. Now she shows her emotions on her face very clearly. So sometimes I can read that. I've also learned when the time is right. I said we're getting ready yesterday in the bathroom. I thought of 2 awesome ideas last night, and then I looked at her and I didn't say a word, and I walked out of the room. She goes, "Do I not get to hear him?" I'm like, "Nope, you're not in a good space to hear him right now." And so no, she's like, "Okay." And it wasn't her fault.
I didn't fight back. I was like, "You're right. You're probably right."
And then also I learned this from EOS from our implementer Justin. He just really made this clear for me. When we're doing L10s, we're processing issues. Sometimes I would feel personally attacked, like if this was my thing. And we're married, so it's like loaded. Yeah. He gave us this little phrase. He said, "The issue is the enemy. The issue is the enemy." And I turned that for myself into it's it, not who, meaning not me. It's it, not. So she's processing an issue. She's not criticizing me. She's trying to fix an issue.
Totally.
And so I would argue on one hand, being part of the EOS community and running our company on EOS has helped our marriage because we can process an issue together as a couple now. And I'm like, okay, we just have this thing. It's an issue. It's not like Justin always says, it's just an issue to solve. Yeah. That's what it is. It's not like I'm a bad human. She hates me. She thinks I'm dumb. It's an issue to solve. And she's not, too wound up and negative Nelly or the other things that would emotionally go through my head. It's an issue to solve. Yeah. It's it, not who. I love that.
So there was no conflict when you were just the CEO and you were the only employee. It was just you. You had no conflict.
None.
So,
the thing ran just seamlessly. It was so brilliant how well it was run and how flat it was. How it didn't grow at all and how unscalable it was. It was just fantastic. No, it's very typical. If you know the E-Myth book, Michael Gerber. I owned a job consciously. I was very conscious and open about that. I said, I don't want a company. I don't want a bunch of people. I just want to do my thing. I loved it. I had my side hustle, referee in football. But this is way more fun.
So you're used to being in control. Like you're...
That's
funny. I mean, you when I say control, I mean, obviously running your own business, and even as a solopreneur, but you are the main person in control on the field as well. Which we didn't even mention this. You mean you just slipped it in there? NFL coaching. NFL. You didn't say like you're coaching.
It's refereeing. It's not
something.
Coaching. It's refereeing.
Oh yeah, sorry, refereeing.
It's a cultural thing.
Difference.
It's English.
Well, the point is you actually have more control than a coach.
In some ways. So then, and you validate, because we have blind spots. We all have blind spots. I always wonder, I don't fancy myself a control person. I don't need to be in control of things. This might be a blind. Look at her face. See?
I don't know about the facial expressions.
I know, it's 100%. So, because I want other people to be in charge of things. Like, I don't want to be in charge of things. I don't need to, I want freedom, which is my own kind of control. Yeah. Isn't it? But that's really my thing. I want free. I don't want to be told what to do. I was a Gen Xer raised by wolves. Yeah. I don't know how it was where you grew up, Jonathan, but Gen Xer, we were raised by wolves. We raised ourselves. Yeah. And that's how I know how to do life. And so I want to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, however I want to do it. Right. So if that's control or freedom, that's me.
It can come out as control, I would say, at times. But he doesn't have a. We used to use this assessment that looked at motivators, and one of them is power. So one of mine is power. Yeah. Spoiler alert. And that's when you're chasing titles and you want to, have the control. He's not that. and it's his idea and it's his thing. And so there are times when he wants other people to be in charge of it, I would say, so that you don't have to be in charge of it. But then if they're not in charge of it in the way that you might like it, then sometimes there's a challenge there.
Like when we do the accountability chart for the first time, and because we're small, when we're smaller and growing, we had to sit in 2 seats. I was like a little baby. I'm like, I don't want to sit in that seat.
Yeah.
I don't want that's too much. I don't want to be in charge of those 5 things.
Yeah.
I want to do whatever I want to do. You know what I mean? And yet, as you're growing, especially when you're just beginning to implement EOS, that's part of the deal. You sort of have to, and you just suck it up and do it.
Or it's an issue to solve.
Right.
Look at that.
Look at that. Look at that. It's just the issue. It's the enemy.
It's just the issue is the enemy.
Yeah.
Right? It's not who.
How do you, how do you protect kind of work versus personal?
That's a
That's a
great
good
question.
You
We
just
get
said you were
asked that a
talking
lot.
about
We do.
the bathroom.
Getting ready.
You already
Yeah.
mentioned the bathroom a
Yes,
couple of
it's a thing.
times.
Yes.
I'll go.
Yeah, please.
So everybody talks about this, like you hear advice. And when he was a coach, we went to Couples Connection, and it was really cool to talk to other, even just couples that maybe weren't in the business together, but they were doing life together. We have always loved geeking out on work. I was a sales leader, and growing up, he's been a coach, obviously. We love talking about work. And so when we started working together, we started talking about work all the time. And for a while, if I was complaining, like doing the just come home and vent kind of thing, he took it personally because he's like, well, wait, this is my company. Like, now you're not venting about your job. You're venting about my thing.
Yeah.
So we had to get square on that. And I think that was the internal work he did, which was really great because I still vent from time to time. But we don't do the strong barriers around, I know some people have a room where we can talk work at home if we're in the kitchen, but nowhere else. Ours is very fluid. And I found that to be really nice on the balance side.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't catch him during the day, and we know what you can tell, or he'll be like, I can't right now, or I'll say now's not the right time. But it's very fluid for us. It's part of our lifestyle, and then our lifestyle is part of our work.
Yeah. And we're very good at acknowledging both directly if it's me to her or her checking in with me if it's okay to talk about work, or saying, I can't, I love you to death. I can't do it right now. I got to decompress first. Or she'll say, I just need to vent. I'm like, and I'll say things like, do you want me to be hubby or business partner right now? She's like, I want you to be hubby. Gotcha. Then I'm listening. I'm empathizing. Perfectly.
Does he do that well?
He's actually
perfectly.
Wow.
Jonathan, come on.
Along with an implementer, we have a therapist or two.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, no, but he's
Pro tip,
actually
call
very good.
Call your therapist your coach, and you sound less broken, don't you?
Oh, totally.
Right? 100%.
I have a life coach.
I've got 4 life coaches that I see. I've got a marriage coach. Right? Anyway, sorry, baby. We do a really good job with that now. We just worked really hard at it. It's not necessarily natural, and it still is never perfect, but it works for us. The other thing that is good, she mentioned, I don't know if we were recording it, but she mentioned she's the boss at work, and I'm the boss at home. And she's really good at if we go on vacation or something, getting past that last work bit and then shutting the lid and going on free days. Then I'm a husband. She's a wife. She lets me take care of her. I make all the plans. She just goes along for the ride. We don't talk about work at all. We really don't. It's really
that's
great.
amazing.
Really good at. I'm proud of us for doing that. We can check out and be gone. It's awesome.
The
That's
free
cool.
day tool, the checking out. I don't know if you've done any of that, but shutting it off the phones, getting the Slack off the phone, LinkedIn off the phone, email off the phone. We don't do 100% of vacations free days, but when we do, we're off the grid, which is also great because we have an amazing team that takes care of things.
I would also say, since we've been running on EOS, EOS has helped us process issues like we're going to be gone for 10 days. Who's going to cover these things? Here's the issue. So now that the EOS has given us loads of freedom through its structure and processes to allow us to be even better with that. We just took a 10-day like a bucket list vacation in February to Bora Bora.
Oh, cool.
Oh, dude. You got to go.
I want to hear about that, but
it's awesome. But we did several elements of our L10, our issue processing, leading up to the trip. We're preparing to go so we could be gone. And we shut it down. Our team handled it brilliantly. We were gone. We almost came back to an eerie boredom, an eerie silence. Like, like everything's okay. What? Nothing bad happened?
I love
All
this
the
dynamic.
clients are
It's
still
so
here?
funny.
Anywho.
Anywho.
Go ahead,
I
baby.
love that
Your
it's
turn.
boredom.
Well,
She's like, I got back and I was like, I'm bored. There's nothing to do.
He's like, I just had 10 days to have lots of ideas.
this is great. Totally. Got them all down my little notebook here.
Did you kind of produce lots of ideas that were good while you were gone?
Well, they're all good.
Were there
Lots
any
is what I'm struggling
amazing?
with.
Were there any amazing ones?
Jonathan, we'll talk. I got a business to start. That's one of the things I'll just go to the Secretary of States and I'll just like start a company.
then
You know,
you'll
just
do-
register it
and a
and
checking
open a bank
account.
account. I'm like,
And
hey,
then I'm
babe, we
like-
got a business now. I opened up Blind Zebra Vino. What is that? It's a wine label. We're going to sell wine in cans to sporting events. People like that. I'm like, she's like, okay.
So far, the only thing on the P&L is about $200 worth of bank fees.
Hey,
so.
but you know what? It's a company now, isn't it? Blind Zebra Vino. It's a great idea, isn't it? A canned wine for sports lovers.
BZV?
With it, yeah,
Oh,
BZ Vino.
BZV.
BZV.
I
See?
like BZV.
See, look at my guy.
I
Come
know,
on,
you guys,
I got
you
it.
have
Visionaries are
acronyms.
rolling, baby.
Yes.
Yeah, so I do have an outlet for those ideas. She's gotten very good at letting me do things like that and just express them.
Yeah.
And then, like, what happens with a lot of visionaries is a lot of them don't get executed all the way.
Right.
And she just lets them fly away, and then they just go away.
One of the guys on our team, he's actually a head of sales, but he said he was in a Vistage meeting, and they said, listen, if you hear your visionary say something that's like pretty big and wild, just write it down and just make a note when they say it again. And if they say it at least twice in a certain period of time, you can take it seriously. Other than that,
That's it.
just add it to the list and be like,
That's
that's great. And I'm like, when people talk about visionary ideas, I'm like, I feel such a patronizing way about it. I'm like, I'm not like a 4-year-old. Like, what if we took a T-Rex and put it on the moon?
100%.
You know, it's like this like
seriously.
ridiculous thing. You're like, yeah,
100%.
okay, buddy, we should do that. Mm-hmm. Why don't you
Okay,
write
time
up the
for a
plan? Yeah, time for a nap. Time for your
did.
milk.
I got this idea. It's called Pod. So it's like a recording studio. Like we'll lease space. We'll rent space in cities. We'll set up podcast and recording studios. People can pay like on a monthly basis to use the podcast stuff. She's like, okay. I'm like, it's a great idea, isn't it? Pod. Who's with me? It's even got a brand, Pod. Anywho, yes. See?
But those of us that
I love it.
turn your visions into realities, I don't have those visions. So I'm just
Right.
validating you both as visionaries that
There you
like
go.
there's nothing to build without the big, the dreamy, you know,
Yes.
the being able to think 10, 15, 20 years out.
I like
I
it.
can't
You got a
do
good
that.
one.
Oh, 100%.
Just to,
Yeah.
just to kind
Dude.
of validate you and then just push you back in the corner.
Exactly what she does. Exactly. No, but it's true.
But at
though,
least you
'cause-
go back in the corner feeling good about yourself.
That's you hit it, Jonathan. I think this might be good for integrators to hear that if you like, it's the proper care and feeding of visionaries. There's a book idea. The proper care and feeding of visionaries, and all you have to do
You're
is
gonna
say,
write it.
That's a
it
brilliant
on the list,
idea.
Jonathan.
What a great idea. Yeah, I think we've talked about this earlier about writing a book.
He's like, it's a great idea. Who could write it?
I'm like, how do you write a book, Jonathan? He goes, oh, just take your podcast episodes, have them transcribed. It's a book. I'm like, okay.
That's
Brilliant, right?
That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
You should do that.
No, but I think just being able to understand that's kind of a bucket that needs filled. Like, this is a really, really great idea. Thanks for sharing that with me. That's awesome. And then
Yeah.
that's it, right?
And then
That's
just
great.
walk away.
Thank you. Exactly. Like, sorry, I got to grab a
pod.
I've actually got an
Pod,
L10.
huh?
We have an L10 that's about to start here. There's a big long list. I'm just getting going.
It's like you got it by looking at those like little pod toilets in the middle of the cities. Have you
did
seen
not.
those?
No,
You're
I
like,
did not.
You probably were like, what is that? A podcast studio? And you're like, it's a restroom, dude. And you're like, oh,
a
but wouldn't it be a good
porta-john.
idea if
But
it was one?
What if we put a toilet in the pod? No, it actually came because someone came to borrow my podcast equipment. So I've been podcasting for a long time, and they said, "Hey, we're starting a podcast. We have no equipment. Can I use your studio?" I'm like, "Sure." I gave it to them. Like, "Hey, wait a second. There's a lot of people that need this." Anyway, we're off topic. Visionary.
We'll cut that out. No, I'm kidding.
That'll get edited.
By the integrator who's going to edit the podcast, right?
All right. You've not mentioned anything about Blind Zebra other than the vino side of it. The vino side of the
part
business.
that we don't have yet.
Yes.
But tell us what really is today. Like, who is Blind Zebra? What are you guys doing? What's your dreams, hopes,
Yes.
10-year core targets?
Yeah, so we are running on EOS now for 18 months. So we're newbies, I think, still learning, still finding our way through it, and it has been life-changing, game-changing for our business. It's been the best thing that's happened. What's great for me from a visionary standpoint is I can see the end much more clearly than I could see it before, because all the hows are in place now, and then I think the operating system has allowed Steph giving her the tools to take her natural gifts and put them into a mechanism, a system. So because of that, we're in, the scale mode. We're like, okay, we've got something good. We're actually, thinking about how can we serve the EOS community. That's kind of because we are in at our first conference here this weekend. Happens to be in our hometown, but who cares? So we're thinking, can we take our tools and can we create an operating system for the sales function of a company? And that's really where our mind and our work is right now, because I've been teaching. I spent my first 15 years just teaching on a whiteboard. So it was my brain and the whiteboard. That was the content.
Yeah.
And it was up to my clients to take notes. It was their job to write the notes down. So then I started doing some simple worksheets and a Word document and giving them that. That turned into some tools. And now we're having the tools instructionally designed. So it could be think of it like a course or an installation of a system or a process as opposed to training and coaching. So that's the evolution. Think of like a Blind Zebra sales operating system, for lack of a better term. That's what it's going to be. And then especially for EOS companies in terms of support and serving that group, to take EOS and just throw, gasoline on it and say, well, you could take this functionally down to sales. I'm talking practical, functionally down to the salespeople. What does a salesperson do? How do they operate every day, every week, every month, every quarter? That aligns totally up to the VTO and all that stuff.
That's cool. I like that.
So funny. So
What?
you're the visionary.
Yes.
So Jonathan asked, "What do we do today?"
And you
what
told me
just
ever
said?
about the future.
I did.
You cast the vision.
100%.
And I'll just.
I'm with you.
Be
That's
the
what we
I was
did.
tracking with
was.
you.
He
I'm
was
like,
I love it.
when do we start?
No, well, so I'll just
We already did, I think. Did we
fill
start
in
yet?
from the beginning
Yeah,
that
please.
we're a sales coaching firm that
Yes.
serves B2B sales teams across the country.
Yes.
And we can't wait to launch our sales operating system this summer, which probably soon when your listeners are listening to this.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
we serve teams and we serve leaders.
Yes.
And we give them new and different ways and better ways to think
Yep.
about sales.
How do you
our
do
sales
that, though?
philosophy.
Is it two of you? Is there a team of
Yeah,
you?
it's good.
Is
That's
there-
great. Yeah. So we have what I think I guess 3 uniques are unique because they're your 3 uniques. We have a framework, and Justin really helped us map this out.
Justin
Moust.
Well, I know that, but
Oh,
I'm saying,
sorry.
you're like,
Justin
"Whoa."
Moust. Well, sometimes I don't. People don't have permission to say their name, so I just say Justin. It could be any Justin, as far as
Well, I
you know.
think
Maybe
Justin
that's
would
his
li-
stage
he would
name.
like it.
He would like. We
He
love
would-
Justin.
Let's
Justin
give
is
a
our
big plug.
implementer.
He is our implementer.
He's the best.
Wait, how did you find him?
We found him through our friends at Element 3. Tiffany Sauter was just the
yeah?
Yep.
keynote today at the event.
Yep. And she's been along. Tiffany and I were in a Vistage group together when she started Element 3. When she started her company, she was working at a big corporation here in Indy and had this idea to start an ad agency. And I was sitting in the Vistage. She was in my Vistage group. And so I've watched her from the very, very beginning. The very birth of her company actually happened in our Vistage group. She bought one of our other members' companies. Very small little design firm.
That's
blew it
cool.
up in Element 3. It's really cool.
And she crushed it today. So if you didn't listen to the keynote and
Yes.
you have access to it,
Yes.
Yeah.
go listen to
Yeah. So we interviewed Justin and then 2 others. And it
And what were their
wasn't
names?
even...
I'm sure.
You might know a couple of them, or one of them at least. It was just not even close. It was so clear. And then what I didn't know, and I had a little crying moment with Justin last night. It's one thing to implement the system and the methodologies and the tools and all those things. It's another thing to be like a gift from God as a person and a soul.
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm going to save this voicemail I've got for. I was in a dark place a few weeks ago. Steph knows, just having a go. Some mental health stuff, and I was just in a really bad spot. And 8:05 on a Tuesday night, he called me. I was with my kids, so I let it go to voicemail. He's just like, "Man, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and how great of a person you are, and I just love working with you." And I'm like crying. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "Why that is a God thing?" It's like that. again, tools are great. All that's awesome. This is like icing on the cake for that. He is something else for us.
I agree. Honestly, this guy is a gift, man.
Easy.
He's just an inspiration. He just probably like injects hope and faith and like we can do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, and he finds the parts of you that you're like feeling a bit down about, and just suddenly builds you back up, and you're like,
right. Yes.
I'm really? I'm skinny? Is that right? Is that what you're saying? I'm like, yes,
Totally.
you are. I am skinny.
Yes.
You know?
He's like, success loves discipline. And then I'm like, what are we having for lunch? He's like, salmon. I'm like, rice? No, salmon and veggies. I'm like, okay. Where's the candy? He's doing push-ups. He does push-ups like on the stairs in between our annual meetings, our quarterlies. It's funny. Anyway, so that's what we did. So in the 3 unique process, he really helped us figure this out. Our model is think, do, say. It's that simple. And what most people miss in sales and the revenue function is a foundational philosophy. I love what you talk about when you talk head, heart, briefcase.
Yeah.
We just talk the thinking column is head, heart, soul behind what you do and say. Because driving every action, every word you say as a salesperson, a sales professional, a sales leader is a core philosophy and an energy you carry with you. Here's an example. We have 10 elements in the thinking column that are philosophies that ground all of our do and say tools and language tools and things. And the first one's abundance, the belief in abundance versus the belief in the scarcity of a marketplace. So when headwinds come, like they're coming right now in the U.S. and around the world for sales teams, the abundance is still there. You just have to work a little harder to find it.
Yeah.
And then we operate, number 2 is detachment. So we teach our clients from sales to operate with a real healthy sense of detachment from outcomes, because some people say yes, no, or maybe. Versus a lot of salespeople are taught, get everything, get yes. It's like, cling on. And then the third core element of the 10 is called intent or intention. And we teach our sales teams to operate with a super high level of intention to help and serve and be good to others, even if it doesn't include you in a contract.
Yeah.
So that means endorsing a competitor if you can, genuinely. It means telling someone, I don't really think you need my help right now, or you're not ready for my help, or saying, I think my work is done here.
Yeah.
I don't think I can help you anymore. And the karmic, boomerang of that is massive.
Yeah.
It's things like that. Most people, when they go operate sales operating system, what do I do? How do I get a lead? What do I say in an email? How do I respond to voice? It's all tactical.
Yeah.
Everybody's brain goes to there. We always start in the thinking column. It's one of our mantras. Get our energy right first.
Yeah.
Then the actions and words take care of themselves.
This is great.
Yeah.
I'm inspired.
That's our thing. Yeah, you ready?
Wait, well, almost.
Let's start a company.
But
Let's
not go with the close.
Almost.
Let's do the close, okay? You're just trying to close me, and now I feel weird.
We don't even teach closing.
You just contradicted everything you just said. You're like, are you ready? I'm like,
I was
I
trying
don't
to
know.
invite you along.
It was a maybe. It was a maybe, and now it's a no.
Actually, never mind. I take it back.
No.
You
I
just
ran it
rubbed
off.
me the wrong way. I'm
Hey,
sorry. Yeah,
it's a big abundant world. I'll have to find another Jonathan. That's cool.
Move on, abundance.
Fair enough. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
There's plenty more fish.
Yes.
But okay, so practically, again, practically, if I'm, well, here I am. I'm a visionary of a company that runs on EOS, and I'm hear that, and I'm like, yeah, our sales team need this. They need to think a lot more visionarily and philosophically.
Yeah.
Versus just the tactical, leads, appointments, and closes. How do they engage with Blind Zebra?
Yeah.
Yeah, so super tactically, we have programs that people enroll their teams in. And we come in and work with your team like one-on-one.
Yep.
But we have proven tools that have been developed over the years.
Yeah.
And we basically operate with this is a little bit of a nod to the football. For years, even Bryan, the whole idea of like role playing can get a little like, oh, like nobody loves that. And we know that people that are pros in their craft, they practice, they apply, they do. So we usually see teams twice a month. The first session of the month, it's like going to the lecture in college, which I tended to not always go to, but our students should show up. And we teach the tool. So it's a super tactical, applicable tool
Cool.
around either the thinking, the saying, or the doing of sales.
Yep.
And then the second time we see them that month, we're actually doing it. So it's the application. It's like the lab.
Yeah.
And we're either scrimmaging it,
Yeah.
or we work with a lot of groups that use different types of call tracking softwares like Gong or Chorus. So we do film reviews.
Yeah.
Or we actually do the thing. So some of these are very behavior based. We know in selling, a lot of it's about the behavior that you do.
Yeah.
So we run the session, the how to clean out your pipeline every month. If anybody listening to this hasn't gone through with their team and cleaned out their pipeline recently, that can be a difficult
Everyone's like,
conversation, but it's a
what?
very,
Right.
but you know, we always say once you know what the truth is, then you can go work on
Yeah.
it. So we teach behaviors like that as well as like what you do and say on a sales call.
Yeah. And
Right.
even like that we get it. It's super, super tactical in the tool.
Yeah.
So we teach, you're going to do a funnel pipeline clean out once per month, the last Thursday of every month,
Yeah.
typically in the afternoon. 45-minute, we call it a productivity pod. That's another tool we teach where everyone comes and reports in a goal. I'm going to close 6 open opportunities, like close them out like they're dead.
Yeah.
Close, lost them. Steph says, I'm going to do 5. Jonathan says, I'm going to do 3. Then we actually work in front of each other. We send the emails out. This is,
Yeah.
hey, Jonathan, been a while. Tried a few times. Guess you got bigger fish to fry. I'm going to close the thing out on my side. See you later. Love, Brian. And then I hit close lost in Salesforce or whatever CRM you use. And then and then at the end of that session, after 45 minutes, we have a smaller funnel than when we started. But
Yeah.
we have a realer funnel than when we started.
Yeah.
Here's the woo part. I believe space gets filled. That's an abundant mentality. Now there's more space for new things.
Yeah.
So new things can come in versus salespeople tend to close loop prospect. So they work the same 20 deals. Oh, no, you as the leader probably hear this.
Yeah.
Hey, where are we at? I'm still talking. Still haven't heard no yet. Is still talking. I'm like,
Guess I
okay,
can't
it's
fire
18
you
months,
then,
19
'cause,
exactly right.
you know,
Keep it going.
so
Keep it
close.
going. Still doing 100% of your base
Forecasting
salary
that
because you're
again?
working your phone. Yeah. And there's just no room. And I tell people, like, do this at home. You clean out your garage or closet, and 6 months later, it'll be full again. Guaranteed. Guaranteed
Yeah.
it'll be full again. And the sales funnel is no different. And
Hold
so,
on a second, Nick. Is my garage clean or dirty?
yeah. Oh,
I have
there
a
you
clean
go.
one and a dirty
A
one.
Right, there
clean
you
one and a
go.
full one.
That's true. I was only referring to the clean one. I keep it immaculate.
Is it really?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great.
Immaculate.
See. Yeah,
Because everything else
Yeah,
is in
it's
the
great.
other one.
Don't open that one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then so there's woo. There's thinking column behind all the doing and saying always.
Yeah.
We teach LinkedIn appointment generators, so people they don't know how to use LinkedIn to get appointments, warm appointments. I do this one live for people. So I would have, Jonathan, if your salespeople were on one of our sessions, we're doing LinkedIn appointment generator. So
Yeah.
it's how to get a warm introduction via LinkedIn. I would have one of your people say, give me a cold prospect that you love to talk to, you haven't met yet. I'll go to my LinkedIn and
Yeah.
I will try to get them an appointment doing what I'm teaching them to do.
Oh,
and I'm
cool.
probably about 6.5 out of 10 hit rate
Pretty
across the
amazing.
country, across the world. Don't care where it is.
Oh man, I'll get
just
a 7.
to try.
I'll get a 7.
Let's
just to
do it,
beat you.
right? Yeah, I'm sure you would. There's no doubt in my
After
mind.
this, we're going to set up a boiler
There's
room,
no
and the
doubt
two
in
of
my
you guys are
mind.
going to cold call off.
Don't even tempt me. I just want to do it. I just wanna-
Boiler room.
I would love it. I would love to watch.
So funny.
Fantastic.
So actually, here at we're at the US conference right now. So
Yeah.
I got done speaking yesterday, and a guy came up to me. He's an implementer. He goes, "This is great. Let's connect." And I said, "All right, I'm on LinkedIn." He's like, "Great, right?" And he goes, "Oh, we're connected." And then I go, "Can I just press a button real quick?" And I press this message button. I go, "See all those messages from me to you that you never replied to." And he was like, "Oh," and I was like, "I'm messing with you." Well,
But not
kind
really.
of. Not really. He goes, "Well, I've been very busy," and I go, "Me too."
Oh,
Me
yeah.
too.
It's funny, I haven't-
Messaging you. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, by the way, don't ever respond to anything ever in life with "I've been really busy."
Oh yeah.
Because it's the dumb people say, like, "Oh, I'm really busy. I don't know when I'm going to do this."
I
I'm
know.
like, careful. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Says, right, well, we should wrap this up because I'm really busy. No, I'm just I'm joking.
Next guy.
Okay, so I got a sense of how long do these projects last with Blind Zebra? Is
That's
this
a
like
great-
6 month, year long?
Great question. So the what's a visionary statement first? What's going to come would be a 2-year installation plan. So take
Okay.
2 years to install all the tools, and then think of like a maintenance, ongoing coaching after that. We have 52 tools. They'd all get installed over a 2-year period with a certified Blind Zebra coach. And then you would have maintenance program if you choose to go through that afterwards. And then we have peer groups for VPs of sales. So
Yeah.
think of Vistage. A lot of
Yeah.
US people are familiar or in Vistage groups. I was in one for 11 years. Thought to myself, this needs to be functional for sales VPs. So started it like Visionaries do. We started it. Now we have currently, as we sit here, 7 groups. They're limited to 13 people per group, and then we're just continuing to grow those groups over time.
How cool.
Those are run very similar to a Vistage meeting, but they're functional to
In
sales
person?
leader. No, both. So we have some in person, and we have 3 in person and 4 virtual on Zoom. So we're having our first big palooza. We're having all of our VPs of sales come into Indianapolis in September of 23 as we record this for the first ever, and everyone's really excited about that. So that's
You also run a podcast?
We're on a podcast, 2 of them
2
actually.
podcasts, yeah.
So
Come on, tell us about
the Advanced Selling Podcast. It's the longest running sales training podcast in podcast history. That's my opening line for the listeners. They know that. We started podcasting in 2006. My partner and I had a radio show here in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it anymore because of some work commitments in the football world. And so he said, "Have you ever heard of podcasting?" I said, "Nope." He said, "It's a radio show for iPods." We started recording it.
A radio show for iPods.
That's what it was. 06, that's what it was.
Spotify should use that.
Yeah.
now.
And we just kept doing
Seriously.
it 1 episode a week for 16 years. We got 950 episodes, silly numbers, 50 million downloads. But here's the deal. It's just been 1 episode at a time. So we're not setting the world on fire monthly per se. It's not like the crime junkie thing, but it's great. We love it. And then I just started another one called Sales Unscripted with my friend Margaret Henney, who's director of marketing at a company called CoVideo. It's a sales video email tool. And that's been rolling for about a year. And we have a blast. Bill and I have Advanced Selling Podcast. Bill Caskey and I have that. Energy's a little different than me and Mark. I'm kind of in the middle of the two. Bill's older than me. Mark's a little younger than I am. And so different energy, but great.
It is
Not the
different
same
energy. They're
chemistry
both
as you
great.
two.
No.
No,
No, but they have
No.
great chemistry. They did a webinar together
Kind of her idea,
years
too.
ago,
Yes.
and they came out of the studio, and a few of us had been on the webinar, and we were all dying laughing. And they
Yeah.
came out, and we were like, "You guys, you've got to do a podcast."
It's a little more
and so
brother
that was
sister-y.
sort of the start.
Yeah. It's kind of like a little brother sistery
Okay.
vibe.
Yeah,
I would
there's
say.
a little bit
You
of
know
that.
what I mean?
And she's great, Margaret's.
It's awesome. It's super
It's a
fun.
great show.
Yeah.
That's so cool. How do people find you guys? I mean, no, wait, before you tell us that, Blind Zebra.
Yeah.
Here we
No, so you
go.
wouldn't say zebra? Is that just
Well,
my South
I'm
African
bilingual.
friends?
We heard this the
So,
other day.
okay, as you know, I do 1 hour of Rosetta Stone, learn to speak British every week for the last 19 years,
blind
and it's kept me
zebra.
fresh.
Learn to speak British.
Because I've got a good client who's from South Africa, and he says blind zebra.
Yeah.
And he brings us zebras all the time, doesn't he? Blind zebra, when I decided to go out on my own, I was actually business partners with my podcast partner in his consulting practice. And it was time for me to go on my own about 10 years ago. I wanted to put my side hustle into the brand. So we haven't talked about it yet, but my side hustle, I'm a football official, American football, in the National Football League, in the NFL. And a lot of people watch NFL games, like a lot of people. So someone that's listening or watching this has bitched at me and not known it. And now you can bitch at
Maybe
me
they
by
do-
name,
maybe they do
right?
know it. Maybe that's
they
why
do
they're
know.
listening.
They're watching
They're
this.
like
They got a
stalking you.
little voodoo doll.
They're stalking you. They're like,
92,
where is he
92.
next? Where is he?
Holding, called back a touchdown. Yeah. So I was sitting around in a coffee shop, and I made a list of nouns and adjectives that relate to refereeing. Like they call blue, ref, umpire. And then I'm like, zebras. They call it zebra. That's kind of cool. So then I went to the adjectives, and they were all words you can't say in a brand. Like F, D, all these words that you can't say. And I came up with, they call us blind all the time. I'm like, Blind Zebra, that's kind of a cool, fun name. So that's how it was invented, Blind Zebra.
That's cool.
We call them, Blind Zebra reflects my officiating world, my life I've been doing for 35 years. And then everything's on purpose, right? So it's black and white colors, and we throw yellow flags. That's why we have a yellow BZ. So everything has a story behind it.
There's a rhyme and reason to it all.
Kudos to Skip Lyford, our VP of Marketing, for coming up with the yellow. I only got to the black and white. That was it. But that's why it's Blind Zebra.
Us girls an excuse to wear zebra print. And if you ever come to Blind Zebra World headquarters, there's zebra print on the walls, and it's really fun.
Or you come to our house, we have lots of zebra things.
do.
And you have a little, I heard you have a. Is it true? You have a zebra onesie thing you wear? What do you call it?
Onesie's
Steph,
the best.
you call it a romper. Did you call it a romper? You said he wears
romper.
a Saturday romper. She says you wear. And it's all like
Yeah.
zebra
It's a
print.
It's a bodysuit.
Yeah.
It's a
A velour romper.
I love
That's
that.
the velour purple
I love
tracksuit.
the British European people and the stuff they wear on the beach, making fun of the Americans. I'm like,
Yeah.
you see what these guys wear on the beach? Like you talk about uncomfortable. I'm like, do we have to go to the beach with Jonathan? I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't look.
My wife won't even go to the beach with me. So the shame.
No, it's fantastic.
No, he does have a
Wait,
lovely
literally,
zebra
she's calling me. My
tuxedo.
phone's like,
Oh,
I'm like,
she
oh, I just said her name.
New.
Usually I would answer it, but I'm not. It's a live podcast, so we shouldn't do that.
We see we have a rule on our podcast: if the phone rings, you have to answer it while we're
And then
recording
take
it
it on
live.
speakerphone.
Exactly.
Hello?
Hey.
No, I'm actually in the middle of a podcast, and I just put you on speakerphone, but I gotta go. Unless it's an emergency. You just want to tell me how much you love me? All right.
Hi,
I love
Mrs.
you too.
Jonathan.
Bye. Mrs. Jonathan.
She's gonna hate me. Like, who said Mrs. Jonathan?